tape for your viewing pleasure.
Okay.
And if you want to just introduce yourself, and then you may proceed.
Okay. I'm Robin Getz. I'm with the City of Lebanon, Director of Public Works. The reason for my visit today is I had previously sent a letter requesting allocation of additional liquid fuel towards a signal project. This came to light as a result of the traffic study that was done with the planning process for the new middle school at Lebanon High School. When they came back, they had looked at 3 intersections, one being Wilhelm Avenue, one being Houck Street and Cornwall Road, and then the third one being Orange and Cornwall Road. So the Orange and Cornwall Road intersection is failing to the point that it needs to be remediated. Their engineer had looked at several options of what could be done, and the only way to properly mitigate it is with the installation of a traffic signal. We had a light meeting with some of the members of the school district just to kind of talk about what does this mean for us. I mean, obviously it's something that the city has not budgeted, was not planning on. So, you know, it's we're kind of limited with what we can do financially. Further, as everyone knows, we don't have the ability to increase taxes like the school district does. They have a little bit more of a lateral thing there that they can accommodate that, which we don't. So in order to try and make this work, we kind of looked at, well, who's utilizing this intersection, and you know, what seems to be the biggest problem. And we noticed from the traffic study that the numbers seem to go up at peak time, and especially when school is, you know, coming into service and discharging. And also, we noticed it with the county employees that seem to utilize that intersection pretty much, which kind of surprised us a little bit, but we knew it was coming from somewhere to get the numbers to make that intersection fail. So with that being said, we thought it would be a good time for us to partner and try and make this happen and work for all of us. Obviously, the city's priority is to make sure that we have a safe intersection for those that are using it. So that is why I'm before you. Our preliminary discussions, we had estimated roughly $150,000 for the intersection. We were looking for the school district to commit to 50% of that cost, and then we would take 25, and we were looking at the county for the other 25. Since then, the engineer, which is your second sheet, has given us an update, which is consistently changing, of $172,000. However, if you take notice in the right column, this actually came from CMI, adjusted it. So to the right column, you'll see those adjustments of what they're seeing in costs. So that has taken that number to $208,850. They're saying that it does not include mobilization or maintenance or traffic protection for the project. It also does not include the design and engineering and the permitting. So with that being said, we're looking at $225,000 would be what we would be requesting. It would be our hope that the school district would in fact pick up on 50% of it. But at this point in time, we're just not sure where they're at. They need to take information back to their school board that's a little more solid, and this is about as solid as we can get right now. I just got these numbers not too long ago, so which I was happy about that I could include them with this conversation today. So if we divvy it up, it would be the city would be looking at, because we've heard rumored that the school district's not looking to pay more than $60,000. It's not been confirmed, but we've heard that out in the rumor mill. And you know how I feel about that. I don't want to put that as a solid number. But if I take that assumption, it would put us at $82,500 for 25 and 25 of the balance.
But, say that again. How did those numbers?
So it's $225,000.
Okay.
If you would take $60,000 off of that, as the school district's portion. That would put us at 135, 135?
No, that would be 90.
90, okay.
Are you saying 90 or 60?
The school district is paying no more than $60,000. So 60 out of the 225.
I don't want to be clever about this, but how can they just say that? I mean, this is their project. That's and the congestion with the high school and so on has been, that's an ongoing thing. Now you're going to add another layer of it. I just don't know how somebody can say, well, what if we say we're only going to do 25,000?
So their thought process is that they're only contributing traffic to that intersection 9 months out of the year. Because of summer, they're closed, although their faculty still uses the facility. And they still have sports events and different things going on throughout the summer, but that was the rationale.
What's the scope, Mike? Do you remember what the scope of that project is out there?
The total cost on the
Yeah.
school?
For the new middle school, it's over 50 million is what they were estimating.
This is why I'm lost in why, this is such a...
Well, I guess their costs are coming in, I mean, anybody that's doing any purchasing right now knows everything's being delayed, everything's coming in 10 to 15% higher than it was anticipated at. I mean, it's just been a constant moving thermometer where it comes to those expenses.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your
That's okay.
conversation there, but may I just ask a question of John? John, what if we also said, well, we're going to do 25,000, the city's going to do 25, and they're going to do 60? What's PennDOT's reaction to underfunding something
Well,
when they're saying that it failed, that intersection failed?
I think in terms of PennDOT, they'll be involved in the permitting, but you're not talking about a PennDOT road. That portion of Cornwall isn't
It's a
state.
city.
It's not their project.
Okay.
So they would their role would only mainly be in, what you're actually putting out there and making sure that it
But
meets.
they don't have any enforceability to say...
Now, if it was a state road, they'd have a little bit more, but their role.
Both city roads,
Yeah.
six streets.
Okay, well,
I suggest my preference would be, again, to stick to what percentage of the project we do want to fund. Rather than get into negotiating a dollar amount,
yeah,
We
that's...
were committed to a percentage and.
Well, you
I
hadn't
think we
committed.
remain committed.
Well,
Well, and exactly, I mean, it's,
We didn't get that far.
Well, in theory, in theory.
There you go.
So by that logic, you're saying 25% of the 225?
I know the city would do 25% of the 225, and that would put the 50% back on the city, on the school district.
What was the grade of the intersection prior to the school even considering a project?
So I don't know that a formal study has been done there because there hasn't been any kind of development of this significance. And in fact, I have gone back through what I can find of city records, and I didn't see that a traffic study was done when the high school was built. So we have no past history of what the intersection was
Is
rated
there a
at.
traffic study done now as part of this?
Mhm.
Okay. Where's the school going to be situated, the new school?
It'll be adjacent to
or where the
where the
field is.
ball fields are currently at,
Track is.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So when,
they're gonna be doing some shared between the two schools, like the auditorium, they would use the high schools with the middle school, and the gymnasium, they're gonna use the middle school for the high school's use, and that's kind of how they're gonna partner between the two buildings. So it's gonna have a role for each.
I mean, I guess I'm looking at it from the school district's perspective. I'd want to know, because they have their own entrance
Mhm.
onto Cornwall Road. Did the study indicate that the demand to that intersection was going to grow, or is it more about Wilhelm and their own entrance?
All three intersections will grow. Wilhelm Avenue will be a controlled signalized intersection, so we'll have someone there, something there to handle that demand. Houck Street, they already use school employees to control the buses and stuff leaving, so they kind of manage that intersection as well with the kids. So the open-ended one is Orange. Orange Street is the biggest problem. And more people are going through Orange that are driving, according to the studies, to head north on Cornwall Road. And it's about a 50-50 split. Some are cutting around because they don't want to go through Houck Street and have to be stopped. They want to be able to get someplace else and go. So it's about 50-50 are going south on Cornwall Road, and the other 50 are roughly are going north. So it's kind of a split use. And that's the main thing that the signal would need to control. That's the main failure of the intersection, is that cross traffic.
Well, and one of your main issues with the Orange Street in Cornwall is I think you still have some significant site obstructions compared to.
Yeah, I have that question written down. Is there property taking as part of this, or any of those structures?
No, we have enough right away that we should be able to house the equipment.
It is a tight little intersection there. I would have thought something.
Yeah, with the,
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions,
Mhm.
please. I guess number one is, do you have a diagram of what you're proposing?
We do not at this point in time. We're gonna need once we get into the engineering, that's when all that's gonna be developed.
Okay, so you don't have the engineering yet?
No.
And then the other question is your share coming from ARPA funds?
No.
And you're not adding any turn lanes?
So they've already kind of developed turn lanes on their own. So the street in itself, by the width, will accommodate 3 lanes of travel.
Okay,
So you would have the 1 lane that would be coming into Orange Street off of Cornwall Road.
mm-hmm,
And then you would have your right and your left turn lanes on Orange Street.
okay,
There's not enough width to accommodate any kind of turn lanes on Cornwall Road, but that's yet to be determined with the parking lanes and what it looks like.
okay, then the next question would be, what is your anticipated bid date, start date, and completion date?
If the world were a perfect place, the signals would be operating by the time school opens, or at least by the time that
This summer?
their middle school
It would
opens
be
next summer.
Next summer?
Yes,
When school opens?
that would be the goal.
So the fall of 2023?
But to be quite honest, Commissioner Litz, I'm not sure if that's going to be accomplished between what is required, the whole permitting process as a whole. So you go through all those, I mean, there is a lot involved in getting this to the finish line.
Is there a state highway involved here?
No, it's
It's
100%
all
city
city.
streets.
yeah, once you enter the city limits, that becomes a
Okay.
city street.
Because I didn't know with 72 if it,
So we recognize it as state routes, 422, 72, and Cornwall Road. We kind of recognize as principal state routes. We try and follow their guidelines. We try to meet their criteria where and when we can, but they still remain city streets.
okay.
Yeah, and one thing I would add, just from the perspective of the school district and Wilhelm Ave and those improvements, one of the things that the school district has done as part of their middle school project is work with PennDOT to address some of our stormwater issues from that intersection improvement. So by their doing their stormwater basins, they're actually collecting some of the stormwater that we have to mitigate for our project. So in some respects, the school district, Steve Shirk and company have helped us. So we've been kind of collaborating on that project.
Does that intersection flood easily?
I think it's more just the, changes that we're making with realigning the road. The fact that, you're now going to have a new and improved roadway that water's gonna obviously sheet off, we have to, obviously with every project, especially with one that has federal funds.
You're referring to the realignment. When you say taking care of stormwater, I don't think it's clear on where you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm referring to the Wilhelm
No,
Ave
real-
and Cornwall
realignment.
Road improvement intersection. The stormwater from that improvement project is what I'm referring to. But being that the middle school is obviously just off of Wilhelm Ave, they're working with us to, sort of combine those to allow it to be accommodated, so, yeah. Thanks, Jim.
So I guess the bottom line is I'm coming to you first just because I wanted to make sure that I had brought this to your attention, what we were seeking. I had a conversation with the school district earlier, and, I said, we need to create a partnership. If someone from the county would like to be involved, I would like to have someone from the county involved in that process as well, to sit in on those meetings that, they're up to speed with what's going on and how we progress. If this is something that you want to be part of, I don't know, John or whomever.
Yeah, I think ideally, with something, when, this is an example of when land use happens, normally if we knew about the school was happening, we'd be trying to build that into some of our plans and be working back with the district to try to secure monies for an improvement. So that was something that I think kind of came upon us. The other thing I was saying to Robin is, big picture, once Isabel and 72 and Wilhelm and Cornwall Road improvements are completed, that pretty much puts the 72 Cornwall Road corridor done, that we want to actually do a corridor-wide study stretching from 419 into where the city, where 9th and 10th Street meets, to look at, a much more large-scale improvement that we'll do, over the coming years to try to deal with some of the operational and safety issues we have in the corridor.
Well, and I think they included the Orange Street in the study because of the outcry of the public with how is the traffic going to travel between the two schools. And I think that was back when they were talking about busing, potentially busing the students into the high school area to the new middle school. So there was a lot of outcry from the public as to, how much traffic is this going to generate? What are we looking at? And people being people, more and more parents are driving their children to school than what had been walking. So I don't think that's going to stop, especially now that they're a younger age group. I would foresee you're going to see more traffic instead of less.
Any other questions for Robin? Okay, we'll have to discuss this and come up with a percentage if that's what would be the fairest, because I think that makes sense to me anyway, but I'd want all of us to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
And then it makes sense to me also that the school district would be the senior partner in the share because of, that is the really motivation for a lot of this.
But your intent is not to change the traffic pattern as people use it now?
Correct.
The left turn lane, right
Correct.
turn lane?
In fact, the study also highly recommended a stop sign to make it a four-way stop at 8th and Orange. We kind of told them we didn't want that because of traffic stacking coming off of Cornwall Road and trying to navigate through that intersection. We thought it was going to be too much, that we would prefer if we just do some hatch marking on the lane to kind of control the traffic and make them stay in a lane to go to school, or, that way first and see how it works, and then if we need it, we'll have to revisit it.
Okay.
I have two questions. One is, what is the timeline? I know you said, your opinion is that you don't think it'll be all done by the end of summer '23, but what is the anticipated construction of this light? And at some point, the city has to commit to it because it's the city's light. It's the city's intersection,
Correct.
streets, everything. This is the city's job, city's responsibility. So what's the timeline, and where is the city if the school and say the county says this is what we're doing, cap,
Well, we're gonna have to do some serious cutting yet again, to meet our budget. That's kind of where we're at. We don't have a lot of flexibility with what we have available in funding.
So this is coming from general fund for city, not from city's liquid fuels?
Some of it's gonna be a combination. We have a little bit in capital reserve, which we can use, because we have it for highway. We'll pull some from general fund, and we'll pull some from liquid fund, fuel funds. But to answer your first question, shortly we'll need to start on the engineering part of it. Once we have the engineering part of it and know fully what we're committing to, then we'll get ready to do the bidding. And then once we do the bidding, unless it comes in a lot higher than the 225, we're gonna be locked into it.
So do you have I guess that's a more specific question, do you have a bid let date?
No, not until we get the engineering finished. That's gonna be our first step.
But you won't begin the engineering until you know you have the funding?
We won't begin the engineering until we have, hopefully, a commitment to some funding. Because it is a large amount of money for the city to just drop now. In fact, it's a large amount of money for the city to try and budget for, even next year.
Okay. Anything else for us, Rob?
No. If you have any other questions, when you have had time to chat,
Okay.
feel free to let
I
me
do
know.
have one more question,
Okay.
but for John. Is there any funding available from other sources for the city?
I mean, through our programs, it's probably timetable-wise, it's not gonna be the fastest process. I could imagine, there are some of the programs that PennDOT has, but we'd be going by their schedule as to, when they're taking applications. I think of some of the things with, Arley could potentially, I guess, be one, but.
But there are funds available, it just take longer.
Yeah,
A couple of years away, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think that was the point that Rob and I were talking about, is we're kind of in a point where timing is an issue, and other sources would probably definitely be better to go after, but we just don't know, if we get them, and we don't know, how long that's gonna take. It just depends.
And even going the Arley route, I've applied for that several times and haven't been successful because of the amount of money we had been requesting. They seem to like to be able to give to a little bit to more than fund a large project, so.
The only other avenue I can think of would be, some discussion that we could have with Larry Shiflett in central office. Sometimes the secretary has discretionary funds that are withheld when money comes to the state, and she has complete authority. So if we ask and say we have a unique situation, maybe you could.
Would that requests be made before or after the engineer drawing?
I think you would want to make sure you have a good solid number before you submit it.
Right.
Ask them for what you think with contingencies and.
So that's after?
Yeah. There's three governmental, entities here,
It's
and
correct.
even if a big chunk could be.
Historically in the past, we've done larger ones, but we did have, at least two of the successes with the secretaries, with North Cornwall Commons and obviously with Inwood. Those were two different secretaries that, knowing the circumstances and if it's got the need, we might be able to make
Well,
that
with the
case.
school involved, I would think that would rise to the top for safety.
We can investigate.
Okay.
And I know Senator Gebhardt's office is also aware of what has been going on, because they have been trying to keep things moving along with the school so that they can get their project in before their deadline dates. So, we've been actively trying to, help where we can, but we're in a position now where we need help. And the mayor does not want to be in a position where, we're aware of this issue and we're not doing anything to make it safer. That's just negligent.
It's another, aspect of it.
But I appreciate all of your time for listening to what we wanted to present. I hope for a favorable discussion. And again, if you have any questions as you go through your discussion, please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Jamie, this kind of naive question, but capital fund money?
No,
Okay.
it's not even our intersection. I mean, we're using, no, I think liquid fuels is your only option here because
Okay.
it's not a county capital expense.
It's not in our budget.
No, I understand that, but I'm just asking.
It's
Okay.
not a,
Where would-
it's not a bricks and mortar asset for us,
Okay.
it's a city's responsibility. Okay.
When do we want to deliberate about it in terms of just
I mean, you
taking
can,
the temperature of?
now you can wait and see what the school, you know, get an update on what the school.
Well, my feeling was if we say that we're good for 25%, that may give them, okay, we're saying we're taking 25% of this thing, and that would then at least give them a tool to work with to get them to stay with 50%, not $60,000, regardless of what the top number is on this thing. So that was all I was just trying to, if we're thinking that way, but I don't know where everybody is.
Well, I have another question. Since they're not using ARPA funds, is it your opinion that this would not qualify for ARPA funds, or,
Well, again, not our ARPA funds.
well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, this is a project that belongs to the city. I
But
mean,
would the
it's
city
their-
ARPA funds be a viable,
I'm not gonna speak to theirs, I don't know.
okay.
I don't wanna be speaking on how they should or can use their money. I don't know.
Okay, but I just
we don't
wondered
have-
if
we
it was a
don't-
possibility that they should be looking at.
I don't know, I've not looked at the infrastructure, because we don't
Mhm.
have utilities and roads, so I don't know what the ARPA.
Yeah, and
But it's-
Penvest does have a lot of money right now. I saw where they got grant money, so I don't know if it would qualify through that or not, but there's a lot of pools of funds out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you were to fund it in any capacity, it should and would be from liquid fuels, because that's intended for roads, bridges, et cetera. You know, it doesn't even really matter that, you know, according to the city, that the county employees use the intersection. I mean, that doesn't make it our
I've been
issue.
doing it, well,
You know, that's been the case for 60 years, right?
60 years.
Actually, there should be-
The point is, this is not a good intersection now. I wouldn't say bad, but certainly not good. And it could use improvement, but again, the reason it's gonna get worse is because this new school.
But on the other hand,
We're
the
actually-
use of that intersection has dropped because the city moved away from this
Exactly, that was the next
location.
point I was gonna make.
So
It's
what are the
actually down.
numbers in the drop? You know, I mean, we don't have all the information.
But in the interest of being good neighbors, I think it would be an enhancement to our, you know, and benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't have enough information to make a decision.
I'm good for 25%. I think that's a fair, you know, though it's not our project and so on, just taking into consideration.
If we were to commit to that, though, how do we fund that?
Well,
Liquid fuels.
yeah. I guess my question, 25% of what?
Yeah.
Whatever?
Yep. Well,
Because, I mean, it already went up 50%.
I understand.
In budget,
Yeah.
so, you know, and it's a year away, so what happens if
yeah.
if it's 300, or if it's, you know, I don't know.
Well, I
If-
think, you know, Jamie, that's a good point, though, to make in our offer, is that maybe that it's contingent on them moving now and, you know, as soon as possible, or cap it, you know.
I guess,
Longer we wait, the likelihood of costs are gonna happen.
I guess my next question would be then, with 25 other municipalities, 24 of them with municipal governments, is this going to open the door for each one of them to come in and ask for equal treatment?
take them one at a time. I think the argument's pretty strong here, though, with the locale of this. I'm not sure how.
We get about 300,000 a year. We spend, we give them 100,000. Municipalities get fixed allocations of 100,000. There's about another, probably 50,000 in in bridge inspections, which we also provide for the municipalities. And then the rest we utilize for our bridge repairs. So, I mean,
There's not a lot there.
there's a little, but there's not a lot. It's really not a lot. Our bridges are, I mean, we have 3 closed bridges, so, you know.
And don't we have Yordy's Bridge or some of the other ones that need replaced?
Yeah, well, that's 2 of those
Then that would
two
deplete
of those
our
are
money
closed.
for those bridges.
2 of those are closed. The Gulf Road and Levan's Bridge and Yordy's Bridge are all on the 12-year plan for replacement, so. Gulf and Levan's are closed at the moment, so.
Just seems to me that dipping
That's-
into our liquid fuels would certainly be penny wise and pound foolish, if you will, because we have those to address, and I know the city has this to address, but if they can use their ARPA funds or apply for some of these other funds out there from Penvest or some of the ones John might
They may have
research.
committed their ARPA funds, didn't they have a grant program where they,
But that was for
distributed.
private entities, that wasn't for their government.
You're saying they may not have any
Yeah.
to allocate.
right?
All right.
You know, I'm pointing out the fixed costs to our liquid fuels already, because if you're going to commit to a percentage, then that's just going to go to wherever the
Yeah.
number is, and
I don't think we can
Wherever the number
afford to
goes,
do
I
it.
mean.
I really don't think we can afford to do it.
Well, how about if we each, you know, feed Jamie what our thoughts are and come up with, if there's a number in your head as far as a cap, or a percentage, or none at all, then we'll go from there.
Yeah, wanting to do it and affording it is 2 different things. We shouldn't jeopardize our tax base for additional city funding.
well, I can't see you doing that.
I don't think,
Pardon?
I can't see you doing that.
Well, no, but I'm saying if the liquid fuels are used up and ARPA doesn't qualify, I don't think we should be going to the general fund.
only,
We're gonna, hang on, we're going to executive session next, so just
Okay?
doing camera.
Executive
just wanna
session,
make
sure.